right, the interesting news came through, the sad news came through today that Golden Century has closed in Sydney. If you're not familiar with Golden Century, then this is a yum cha restaurant, or dim sum if you're in the States. Great Chinese institution in Sydney's Chinatown, and essentially 8 weeks of lockdown has taken out Golden Century. And this is happening. I mean, this is very difficult in terms of many businesses trying to survive. For a while, I've had this analogy, this interesting idea that COVID essentially has almost been like a giant roulette wheel in the sky. Some people have done extraordinarily well and are buying Lamborghinis and Ferraris and business is booming. And for some, it's horrifically bad. Now, whether this is all just a speeding up of what was already on the cards, that going back before COVID, it was probably possible to see that some of the changes around retail, around online shopping, around ordering, the arrival of Amazon here in Australia, obviously in the States, you guys have had that for a long time. But here, it was already shifting that dynamic. And then throw in lockdowns and the inability for businesses to operate. Essentially, I walked around Byron today and 95% of places are closed. Like maybe 3 or 4 restaurants open for takeaway only as essential businesses. You know, the rent has to keep being paid. And look, businesses typically just don't have that much cash that it's like, yeah, we can just run for 8 weeks with no income. That's typically not what's going on. Hi, Pippi. How you doing, darling? Got a little visitor. How you doing, buddy? You got something to say today? How was your day? Still nothing to say. Okay. All right. Well, just hang out with me. Got a little 2-for-1 for you today. It's the Tom and Pip show. And coming back to Golden Century, you may be faced, if you're not on the roulette winning side, with the difficult decision about, hey, what do you do? And at some point, it may be a choice to cut your losses and just go, you know what? Let's get this killed. Let's put this business out of its misery right now, knowing that eventually when the lockdowns lift, when business conditions improve, you can actually be in a better place to go again. And it's an opportunity to allow what has been, like what lessons did you learn? How would you do it better next time? Extract out the wisdom and the learnings, and from my perspective, particularly the systems. Like in the death of that enterprise, if that is what you are looking at, then hey, what can you take out of it? What systems are applicable across all businesses? I want you to appreciate this idea that many systems are required by every single business. Like if you, maybe there's some exceptions. Let's say there's some exceptions. General practice businesses over here typically will not need marketing, sales, advertising. And in fact, they're banned from advertising, but all they've got is fulfillment. But most normal businesses are going to require marketing, sales, advertising, fulfillment. They're going to need people. They're going to need optics. They're going to need accounting. They're going to need taxes, all of these things. And there are systems that run this. I'm reading E-Myth again at this time, and it's just beautiful to see the insight that E-Myth brings. Essentially, it's a book about McDonald's, and that McDonald's is not a business selling hamburgers, but rather McDonald's was a business selling businesses. And irrespective of whether you think the food is amazing or the food is terrible or somewhere in between, maybe it's just a great stop on the road while you're traveling. You're like, man, thank you that McDonald's exists. But they were really the first ones to master the selling of business systems. And so if you are faced with the difficult choice, of like, okay, we're going to close it down, then what do you keep? Yes, the lessons. Perhaps you put it on ice and extract out as much as you can to say, hey, when business conditions improve, we go again. And we're ready, and this time we're faster. Perhaps you might even look at the world that we're living in now. This is not the world that may have existed for you when you started your business 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like there's a lot more peculiarities of being an Australian citizen or really not an American city, represents a possible tax haven. Can't see. Oh, there we go. We're back. Wi-Fi signal difficulties. So America actually represents very interesting opportunities, and I've been following a gentleman called Simon Black over at Sovereign Man. This gets into five flag theory, that you put different aspects of your life in different jurisdictions, and certainly some of Simon's predictions in terms of having dual passports or having the capacity to keep things out of the government's reaches is extremely helpful. Now, this is done legally. This isn't about doing illegal things. If you go to Rich Dad Poor Dad, is like, you know, it's easy enough to do it legally. Don't be tempted. But if you know what to do and are aware of opportunities, then the world is a fascinating place. Even New Zealand in itself, like New Zealand trusts could be used. Now, again, this is not a recommendation. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an accountant. I'm not an international business specialist. So you should get your own advice. But you should definitely check out some of these resources, because eventually it looks like when businesses open up again, when lockdowns come off, things boom. And it's like, okay, be ready. Be ready. Perhaps it's like, okay, I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to take the lessons. I'm going to prepare for when situation changes. All right, that's all I got for you today. I hope you're having an awesome day. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's episode as we continue to explore the power of systems to create results. See you then. You say bye?